Retirement is supposed to be the finish line, but what if crossing it means you start bleeding out the very money you spent 40 years building? The stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking about the difference between sipping coffee on your porch at 80 versus rationing groceries and pretending you're not hungry. Here's what nobody tells you at the retirement party. The moment you stop earning, every dollar you spend is a dollar that can never compound again. That's not just math, that's a psychological shift so jarring that financial therapists have actually coined a term for it, the decumulation anxiety spiral, and it's hitting retirees harder than ever right now. We've watched inflation run at rates not seen since the 1970s, eroding purchasing power so fast that the retirement nest egg your planner called comfortable 3 years ago now feels like it's sitting in a leaky boat. The average American retires with somewhere around $250,000 in savings, which sounds like a lot until you realize that could last as few as 10 years if you're not strategic. The old rule, spend 4% of your portfolio annually and you'll never run out, was built in a world of different interest rates, different lifespans, and frankly, different stock market behavior. Now, some researchers are whispering that 3% might be the safer ceiling, and that's the kind of quiet revision that should make you sit up straight. Think of your principal like a golden goose every time you spend from it unnecessarily. You're not just eating the egg, you're slowly cooking the bird. The goal isn't to die with the most money, but it's also not to run dry at 83 when you've still got a mortgage and a prescription bill. Historically, retirees who preserved principal aggressively in the early years of retirement gave their portfolios the runway to recover from early downturns. This is what researchers call sequence of returns risk, and it's arguably the single biggest threat to retirement security. We saw it devastate people who retired in 2000 or 2008, and we'll almost certainly see it again because markets don't care about your timeline. There's a misconception floating around that spending your principal is always reckless, but that's simply not true for some retirees with pensions, Social Security, income, and low expenses. Drawing down principal in a structured way is actually the rational, mathematically optimal move. The fear of spending is just as dangerous as reckless spending, because dying with $2 million in the bank while skipping travel, experiences, and joy is its own kind of tragedy. The behavioral trap most people fall into is treating their portfolio balance like a scoreboard. They feel rich when it's up and panicked when it's down, making emotional decisions that sabotage a perfectly good plan. Discipline here means having a written policy for when and how much you spend, reviewing it annually, and ignoring the noise in between. Practical lesson from history. Bucket strategies work dividing your money into short-term spending buckets of 1 to 3 years in cash, medium-term buckets of bonds, and long-term growth buckets of equities gives you psychological permission to spend without panic selling during downturns. It's not magic, it's just structure. And structure is what separates the retirees who sleep at night from those refreshing their brokerage app at 2 in the morning. Position sizing matters here just as much as it does in investing. Don't bet your entire lifestyle on any one assumption about inflation, returns, or lifespan. Build in margin. Assume you'll live to 95, even if no one in your family ever has, because the cost of being wrong in that direction is survivable, while the cost of being wrong the other way is not. The irony of retirement is that the people most afraid to spend are often the ones who save the most, and the people most willing to spend freely are sometimes the ones who can least afford it. Flipping that script requires not just financial planning, but an honest conversation about what money is actually for in your life. Philosophically, the question was never really spend or preserve. It was always, what kind of life am I trying to fund? And what's the minimum I need to protect to keep funding it? Get that clarity first, and the numbers almost always follow with surprising obedience. Discipline, sizing, and consistency are the 3 pillars, not timing, not conviction, not any hot tip from your brother-in-law about dividend stocks. If your withdrawal strategy survives a stress test modeled on the Great Depression and a 1970s inflation spiral simultaneously, you can feel genuinely comfortable with whatever the market throws at you next. Whether markets cooperate or don't, whether inflation cools or rages, a rational, written, revisable plan is your armor. And comfort comes not from predicting the future, but from knowing you've prepared for versions of it you haven't even imagined yet. That's not pessimism. That's the most optimistic thing a retiree can do. And if you're just getting started thinking about how to build and protect wealth, whether through real estate investing, home contracting, work, or connecting with the right lenders, check out our links in the description below and let's figure it out together.